All of these people recently went through an interview and got their job offers, and they have shared all of the interview questions they were asked and answers that they gave before they got their job offers. And on this video, I'm going to share 20 most popular interview questions and answers for the last round of interview that you usually will have with either manager, director, VP, or even a CTO or CEO, or any C-level executive. But make sure to stick until the last question if you want to ever become a QA lead, manager, director, VP, CEO of the company, or if you want to run your own business. And I'm telling you, as I've been running business for the last 8 years. Anyways, I will share it only with those kind of people who will hit this big fat thumb up button below, subscribe to our channel, and also join our Instagram and Telegram communities, links to which you can find right here. Now, let me quickly remind you who I am, and then we're going to kick it off. My name is Sergey, and I'm a software QA engineer, lead manager, and a senior engineering manager of that in the past. But these days, I'm helping people like you to become a QA engineer from scratch or to improve your existing skills. Now, let's get started. All right, before we actually start going through the questions, I wanted to share my experience because I have about 13 years of experience in the world of tech, including QA, that manager, engineering manager, etc. And I've gone through a lot of interviews with managers, leads, directors, VPs, CTOs, CEOs, CPOs, whatever C-level executives exist on this world. And mostly, one more time, mostly, when you're getting to that level of interview, you're already set. This check is simply a check, it's a sanity check to check if you are a sane person, if there are no red flags. In 60 to 70% of the cases of in my history, during these last rounds of interview with the CEO or VP, I would simply get information from them. They would be sharing their goals and motivating me, sharing their ideas and how good the company is doing, how much money they're making, what's their goals. So I would get motivated and I would see an entire picture of the company, pretty much of company roadmap. But that was my case in I would say probably up to 60 to 70% of the interviews for the last round. You guys let me know if you had different types of interviews in the comments below. But now I'm going to give you 20 questions and answers that our students got. And those are going to be strategy based. But sometimes you will get even technical questions like one of our students got. Anyways, let's kick it off now. Question number 1. How would you align QA strategy with a strategy of the product development and the company's roadmap? Well, this is, I would say, QA lead, manager, director level of question. But if you're a first QA engineer in the company, or if you're one of the first few, and you are the most senior, or you will possibly become a lead, then you might get it as well. Or even if you're a QA engineer, you might get it as well. And how I would answer this question is, whenever we're talking about the company's roadmap, every single team or a part or pod of the company should be aligning to the company's roadmap and the company's goals. Because by the end of the day, we all have to generate revenue for our company. Think from that perspective. Don't think that, hey, I'm a QA, I need to test. No, think like a leader, like a manager. Then if you will think that way, you will very soon get a promotion to manager and director level. But how to answer this question? Well, number 1, we should definitely take a look at the company's roadmap and a strategy, and we would align our QA processes and a strategy to it. So it all depends on what does the company do, what the product is. And when you're going for an interview, you will actually know what the company does and you can better answer the question. But generally speaking, if we're talking about a technical product, if we're talking about web app, number 1, we would try to minimize all of the efforts and automate majority of things that can be automated and from our perspective. So as soon as I join the company, I will talk to main stakeholders such as developers, lead managers, product owners, etc. And I will ask them, or if you are joining an existing QA team, you will talk to your QA team and ask about the main pain points so you could knock them off one by one and automate those processes as soon as possible, so we would not have to waste so much money on the things we're doing on a daily basis, such as regression testing, etc. We would allocate resources to automate the majority of repetitive tasks and pain points of the company. If we have quite a large set or logic on the back end, we would definitely start using Postman and possibly automate the majority of the API requests in order to minimize our efforts on that end. It all depends on a product and existing roadmap of the company, but from my perspective as the QA engineer or a lead, I will find resources and change the plan if needed, if the roadmap or plan of the company I'm working for is going to change or changing right now. Because once again, by the end of the day, you need to deliver that you will do everything that is required from the QA team in order to support the business, not to do just automate everything, that's it, without even caring what the product is. No, you would research, talk to all the stakeholders, just like this guy you're talking to or a girl, and then you would one by one implement new or update existing processes in order to improve team's efficiency. And don't forget to mention scalability, because whenever you're talking about setting up your automation using Postman, different tools, processes, etc., say that, okay, we're going to invest a little bit of time at the beginning, but that's going to help us to scale very rapidly. For example, using best practices to create a test automation framework, not just hire a random, person offshore who will do automation quickly, but then it's not scalable. You have to remove all the weights. No, we're going to spend a little bit of time at the beginning, but then it's going to pay off very quickly because our test automation application and all of our processes will be very scalable whenever our company will grow twice, 4 times, 10 times, etc. Second question, how do you prioritize testing when you have a limited time or resources? This is a very popular question in the world of testing, and you will have it pretty much on a daily basis if you are working as the QA engineer or even as a developer. Because there are always a lot of priorities and it's a business. They want you to do as much as possible, so you will have to pick what's more important and what's not. So the way I would answer this question is I would say, okay, I definitely understand we will always have lots of priorities. And number one, we're going to do risk assessment. What is the most important thing to test at the moment? We can do risk-based user testing. So pretty much we would test the most important pieces of functionality in order to make sure that there will be no critical issues or no blockers or no crashes in our application. With the rest, we can deal later if we're very limited on the time and the resources. If I need to invest my time, I will definitely invest and stay for longer if needed, but I understand that my time and the resources are also limited, so we were going to prioritize based on the risk and make sure that the most important functionality of the application has been tested thoroughly. By the way, if you are interested to become a software QA engineer from scratch to improve your existing skills, or learn how to build AI from scratch or AI workflow, I'm running quite a lot of courses, and some of them are for one week where you can learn basics of it, you can learn how to answer basic interview questions, and even get an internship in a US-based startup for a whole week. The links for those courses are right below this video. Question number 3. How would you integrate QA into existing development pipeline to speed up release process? That's an amazing question. I've spent quite a few years of my life working on doing that, and there are quite a few steps. So here's how it goes. Well, number one, if I'm a first QA engineer in a company, or if QA is not a part of the CI/CD pipeline of the release process yet, number one, if we don't have test automation, I will create it and I will keep it separately. As soon as devs put the new build in the QA environment, I will run my tests separately and manually give them thumb up or thumb down on the testing. Step number 2, and it's quite more advanced, is integrating or adding a hook from development pipeline, from development repo to QA repo. So dev repo would trigger QA repository and all of your automated tests to run as soon as the new build hits the QA environment. Then that would be automatic process. And then you would do the rest of the testing manually, and so you still give manual thumb up to your development team when the product is ready to go to production. But there is also a third way, and that's much more advanced way. You would move your tests or start developing your tests in a dev repository, in an application repository. Just like devs have their unit tests, you would also add a folder for your integration, unless it's already there, and or end-to-end tests. Then you with the combination with the DevOps or purely DevOps by your request will add QA automation as a part of the dev pipeline. And one day you might, I'm not saying it's going to happen, but one day you might even end up having all of the automated tests automatically give a thumb up to dev pipeline, and when no manual testing needed, just like in the Google, the software will go automatically to production if all of your tests have passed. That's the best and the most scalable way, but it's hard to get to. Question number 4. How would you handle a critical bug discovered right before the very important release? Well, this is a very common interview question, and you might even get it at the last round with a C-level executive. And here's how I would answer it. If there are any critical bugs raised during the release process or right before the release starts, I will definitely triage the bug, see how critical it is versus what is the functionality that we have in the build right now to go out to production. Number 1. Number 2, I would talk to product team or stakeholders who are available to make sure that my way of thinking is also on the same page with their way of thinking. So we could triage it together and decide. But generally speaking, if it's not as critical bug as critical fixes that we have in this build, I will let the bug go out, release it to production, and fix it later. If it's very important and people are waiting for it. If this bug is critical or if it's a blocker, we would definitely stop the release, have our devs fix it right away, and only then release it to production. And by the way, some of our subscribers did ask me to help them to improve their English, as majority of us were not born in the US or in English-speaking countries. So especially for you guys, I did open up a new YouTube channel called Sergey Speaks, and you can find a link for it right below this video. Let's continue. Question number 5. Can you give me an example of mentoring junior QA engineers or leading QA initiatives in the past? I love this question because I had quite a lot of experience of mentoring junior people, especially as I am a CEO of Codemify, and I've been mentoring people for the last 8 years and helping them to become a QA engineers from scratch or to improve their existing skills. Just like this 40+ year young girl or that 18 years young guy. Anyways, and here's how I would answer this question. Absolutely, I have done quite a lot of work on mentoring juniors in the past, as I've been working as the mid-level and possibly in your case, senior level engineer or even the lead. And when I would get a junior team member joining my team, I would have a conversation to understand what kind of person that is. And slowly, I would give that person different challenges to see how that person actually learns and reacts. Maybe that is a challenger who's been doing sports all their life, and I simply need to give them a challenge and say, I'm I'm not sure how doable that is, but do you think you could give it a shot? And that person would definitely go for it. Or if I need to give a formal training to that person and in a nice way carry out and slowly give them a little more and a little harder challenges. So that will depend on the type of the person I'm working with, but I would definitely have quite a few meetings to understand how to work with that person. Now, the second part of this question, which sounded like, can you give me an example of the QA initiatives that you took in the past? Absolutely. As soon as I've joined one of the companies that I've been working for as the senior QA automation engineer, I've realized that there are 4 to 5 junior QAs and the mid-level QAs who are creating data manually, who are simply creating new, if it's a real estate website, creating new listings manually, and then using them for automation. And different engineers or different QA engineers started to use same data, and that's why a lot of tests were running into an issue where first test would change the data and second test would not find that listing anymore because it has been changed. So what I did, I have started an initiative to move all of the data creation to API level. So we would move all of data creation into before hooks or before each hooks, where listing would be created for each test file or even each test depending on a need. And at the beginning, even my QA manager did not approve that initiative. And what I had to do, I had to actually show an example and create it during my own time, as I have done that in the past. And when I brought an example and when I showed it, and I've shown that, hey, previously we had 2 tests out of 10 failing, now we have 0 failing when we run them 10 times on a row. And only after that, after I have showed the result to my team and my manager have approved this QA initiative to move forward, and I've slowly migrated majority of the tests and taught and mentored our team to create new API helper methods or create data right before the test even starts. Question number 6. How do you resolve conflicts between development and QA team about prioritization and deadlines? Well, it will always happen. And thing number 1 that we have to understand, there is something called an art of negotiation or an art of communication. Whenever there is an issue, first of all, we have to communicate it, right? We have to discuss why is that issue is even arising. Number 2, we will not have issues in most cases if we have majority of the processes documented. So if we clearly specify in the form of the document or requirements what critical priority is and what blocker is and what's the difference between two, in 90% of the cases, you will not have any prioritization issues. But you might have issues about the deadlines, about something else. You always will. But remember, number 1, bring people together, discuss it. It's not about who's right or who's wrong. It's about how can we get the biggest return on investment for our company in the shortest amount of time by keeping our team happy and satisfied. And a lot of times, product owner would be the person to give a call, because product owner is the person who fully understands the product and understands it from the perspective of users, as that person, majority of the time, will have a direct communication with users. But once again, you bring people together, you discuss it, you simply ask logical questions. Why is it critical? Why is it not critical? And then, if needed, you bring a product owner or scale it so that solution could be brought quickly. Question number 7. How do you ensure that QA is aligned with the product management and business stakeholders' goals and plans? Well, number 1, we should all have one business planning where we find company-wide roadmap and objectives, when we have clear path and understanding. Then every single team will have their separate meetings with their pods to understand how can we make an impact on a company's goal. How can we support it? What do we have to do? And while you're doing that, those different teams will integrate with each other, will talk to each other whenever product team needs the help of QA, whenever QA needs the help of product. And usually it's all decided within discussions. And as the PM or product management team or product ownership team, those people we should have meetings with the QA as early as possible so the QA team would prioritize most important features and functionality to be automated first, to know what are the exact acceptance criteria so we could quickly get those done, and that will clearly align us with the product management team and the different stakeholders in exact same way, and together it all aligns into big and wide company roadmap. Question number 8. What's your approach on introducing new tools on processes in the world of QA when team already had some in the past? Well, as I previously mentioned, I prefer to always bring a working example and show metrics. What people prefer is to see numbers. Why will this be better than that? If you clearly specify that this will be better, this tool, Playwright, will be better than Selenium, for example, because it's faster, it's more reliable, it's more lightweight, it has more already existed integrations by default, you don't have to use a lot of things from the outside. If you show all the metrics, it will knock 80% of questions off right away. There might be some people who will still prefer their tools just because we're people. We get used to things and we say that, hey, I like doing things this way because it has been working for ages. But there are better tools that we haven't even researched yet. So those, probably 20% of people will sometimes still say, hey, but I think this is still better for yada 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 reason. In that case, you simply need to show an example, and that's what I did in the past with APIs. I have created a new, or I've updated the way data was created in the past manually with the simple API requests in the before or before each hooks. And I showed it to my team. And then everyone was super happy and excited because they could clearly see out of 10 tests, 2 have passed in the past, 2 have failed in the past because they were flaky because of the data. And now out of 10, if you run them 10 times, all 10 are passing. Question number 9. How do you keep your QA team or yourself as an individual contributor and a QA engineer up to latest trends and best practices on the market in the world of testing? Well, as this HR had answered this question during the interview, and I'll actually say the same thing. Number 1, there are quite a lot of blogs and YouTube channels and Twitter or X accounts where you can learn a whole bunch from the latest trends and the best practices. Number 2, there are a lot of worldwide communities such as LinkedIn communities, Slack communities, Discord communities. And number 3, but probably that should have been the first one, there are conferences, there are meetups that companies are paying a lot of thousands of dollars of money in order to get their employees upgraded to the best practices, latest tools, and latest trends. And also, aside of conferences, there are a lot of meetups on a monthly basis that we do as the Codemify team. And if you guys are interested in joining one of those meetups, and we actually host them all over the world, US, Europe, and not only, you can join our Codemify Telegram channel by following this QR code right here. Let's continue. Now the last, but the most important question if you, QA engineers and testers, ever want to become a C-level executive or even a business owner. How do you measure the ROI of test automation or return on investment in terms of money and business? It's an amazing and a very wide or great question, and the answer to it will sound like this. Number 1, it's nearly impossible to clearly calculate how QA team impacts customer happiness, as every single team member aside of QA team is also being involved into building a product that people are enjoying. But what we can actually calculate is time saving, and that's what exactly I've done in the past. And here's the star answer. When I've joined one of the companies in the past, they had 500 automated tests running for 15 minutes. And think how much time has been wasted as people have been waiting for their test automation to finish the run. And there were a lot of failures because of that. When I joined the company, I started developing a new infrastructure for the QA team. And in 3 months, while I was supporting and leading my team and building infrastructure after hours, we were able to run 1,000 tests in 10 to 20 minutes. Think about those digits. After I've done the calculation and I've talked to Browser Stack and multiple different companies, we have realized that the cost of this infrastructure, if we would pay someone else money, would be $236,000 on an annual basis. And the infrastructure that I've built did cost $50,000 of salary or something like that to this guy, and $9,000 on annually basis. So if we don't count the first year of my salary, then the cost is $227,000 less than if we would pay money to any company that would do the same thing for us. Amen.